Oh,
Right.
Yeah, we're live.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. As you may know, we have been trying out this new system where we are getting started right at the start time. And as you can see, we are still getting in some early practice, but we are excited to get started. And we are also very excited about Leah's bangs. But those are not the main topic today. Today's topic is
the part of your morning routine that helps you get ready for your day.
awesome. Yeah, I think that morning routines for a lot of people have kind of spiraled into this like multi-hour event where there are a lot of books that'll recommend, like waking up at least 3 hours before work and all of this stuff. And that's not always really logistically possible. So I think it's really good to be able to almost have, like people will talk about, and the only reference that's coming to mind is makeup for some reason, but how there's like a 5-minute face where it's like a swipe of mascara and brow gel and then you're out the door.
Mhm.
And then the more elaborate, like you're doing a cut crease, you're doing all of these extra steps and having those two different versions of that routine. And I think it can kind of be the same with a morning routine where it's good to have that like a couple of hours to read and exercise and really get ready. But it's also important to have a like 20 minutes or less version of that routine for when you just need to get up and get out the door. But still do some things to kind of preserve your productivity and well-being.
Yeah. I think the concept of morning routine was slightly killed during quarantine.
Mine already
no, it
wasn't
killed-
great to begin with.
Yeah, it killed mine. Like
Nah.
I lost my morning routine when quarantine started. I used to have one, now I don't.
I've just never been a morning person to begin with.
I didn't either. I mean, I make breakfast and tea every day. So that yeah, I think like not having to go out in person completely changes the way I view the morning.
Yeah.
It's more like
Definitely.
It for sure changes the priorities.
Oh
Like-
yeah, definitely.
You're not as worried about like putting together a whole outfit necessarily. And like one thing that I really have liked is that I don't have to like throw something in a mug and go. So it can be helpful to be able to like sit and really make coffee or make tea and go through the process.
Yeah, and like relax, not have to be like like freaking out about getting to the bus on time or whatever.
Yeah, like not trying to make breakfast while the tea steeps and also, dang it, where did I put my wallet?
Yeah.
Not having to zip through that is helpful.
Right.
One thing I like doing is having a cup of water on my bedstand when I wake up. Like the first thing I do when I wake up is drink some of the water. Like a good way just to like, that's a good thing to wake up to is water. So you just wake up and the first thing you do is you just drink water.
See, I probably should start with water. Usually I start with cold brew and then work my way to water.
Yeah.
But the order you go in is probably a better choice.
It's just how I function. Because like with water, you just make it the night before and it's waiting there for you. You don't make water. You pour it in the night before. And
the water molecules.
you don't even have to like get out of bed. You can just sit up and just reach over and just drink some water. With tea, it's like you have to go downstairs and make it, and that's just a lot of output, energy output for that early in the morning.
You could have an electric kettle right next to your bed.
You could, but then you got to get the tea leaves ready, and you have to like store away the tea leaves after you steep them.
That's true. Honestly, not wanting to do some of that stuff is part of the reason I drink cold brew coffee a lot more often than hot brewed types of coffee, is because I can set it up the night before. And then all I have to do is put some ice cubes in a glass and pour the cold brew, and I am set. Caffeination station has been reached.
It would be cool if you could put a
locked
tea kettle on a timer like some people do with their coffee pots.
I'm sure that exists, but
I'm sure.
It might be expensive.
Might be.
Yeah, it could be expensive.
I don't know. Like speaking of like routines in the night that make it easier the next day, people's mileage might vary now because if you're working from home, which not all of us are, but if you're working from home, like it might just be a matter of which pajama pants am I going to wear tomorrow?
Yeah.
But picking it out the night before so that if you're like me and you're in zombie mode, like you just don't have to think about it. And that's just one less thing. And you're always allowed to, if you're not feeling it in the morning, you are allowed to change your mind, but you probably usually won't.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just one less thing to think about.
Mhm.
I think that's true of a lot of tips for the morning, is making things easier the night before. Like, again, this is one of the most cliche things ever, but laying out clothes the night before can
It's
make
important.
a difference, because that way you're not spending the morning grabbing things and putting together an outfit and, oh, I thought I had this thing clean, but actually it's in the hamper and now I need to rethink the whole thing.
Mhm.
Having that just ready to go especially helps in those first few minutes of being awake, where you're not like totally with it yet, but you can still be kind of taking those steps toward the rest of your day.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
my
think
other big one is,
breakfast
sorry, go
kind of
ahead.
the same.
Wow, I was just about to say
I
that.
know, I know it's pretty laggy. Breakfast, yeah. I always at least know what I'm gonna have, or it's already like Sarah gave me a great recipe for overnight oats, so like I'll have that in the fridge or
Mhm.
something.
Yeah.
Overnight oats, they're yeah, they are definitely an obsession of mine at this point, just
Yeah, I
because
feel like y'all always talk about overnight oats. So you guys
Oatmeal,
love that
yeah.
stuff.
Oatmeal's good, and regular like classic cereal kind of gets some haterade these days. We're kind of in a low carb world or whatever, but cereal's fine. And it's easy, and there are definitely some cereals that are not absolute sugar bombs. Or like what I do is my husband got me this absurdly large box of Special K, just like the plain kind that I don't even like. But I asked him to get me a box of Raisin Bran Crunch as well. And that stuff is an absolute sugar bomb. If you eat it by yourself, you're probably going to have a bad time. But if you mix the two together, it's actually pretty good.
I love Raisin Bran.
And it's like not a sugar explosion if you have it like half and half or 2/3 and 1/3.
That's good to know, because my biggest issue with cereal is just that, there's the high and then I crash.
Yeah.
Usually because I wake up at
Yeah.
about 5 a.m. and our meetings start at about 9:30 a.m. my time. The crash is happening right as I need to be on for meetings, and it would be a little bit rude to just be like scarfing down a whole meal.
Yeah.
So the timing of that crash is very inconvenient.
Yeah.
The sugar's
You
a
can't-
problem. There's a lot of
It
decent
is.
tasting ones that are 10 grams of sugar or less, though. And like that's the sweet spot. You don't have to be like just Cheerios every day.
I love Honey Nut Cheerios, so.
Oh, also, we got these little frittata things at the Costco. I'm super excited about the Costco now that we have one in my town. But you can just like pop it in the microwave. It's like 30 seconds and you've got breakfast.
Frittatas are amazing. I have definitely made those for prep. Also, egg cups are fantastic. Whenever I'm starting to kind of
Super
get
good.
sick of the overnight oats and I need a break, or it's like really cold and I don't want a cold breakfast, I'll just use my muffin pan and crack like an egg into each one, a little bit of ham or feta cheese or a veggie. And those are really easy to just pop in the microwave and have ready to go.
Yeah, and you're set for like at least a week.
Exactly. And it's high protein, so you don't have that unfortunate crash. I think something that often gets left out of morning routines that I'm hopeful will start working its way back in more is time to rest. And I think people think of rest as like an evening activity more than a morning activity. Mornings are like get up and go and do all of the things.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important in the morning, especially before you start the workday, to just take a little bit of time to do something that makes you feel like yourself and helps you kind of go into the day with a really good tone. So like for some people that might be exercise, that might be like, for me it's usually reading a book. I love getting to read a chapter of my book before I like jump onto tech for the day. But set aside a little bit of time every morning to just take it slow, not rush right into the next thing, and be able to do something that you really enjoy.
That is nice.
Yeah, it's horrible to start your day like frazzled. Like,
Yeah.
take the
awful
time.
feeling.
Yeah, I remember when work from home first kind of started becoming the norm last year. One of the biggest things that I told people who were like, how do you do the work from home thing? I have never done this before, was that it can be really tempting, especially if you're not used to working from home, to like roll out of bed and up to your desk. But that is not good for your mental health, because you're starting the day kind of frazzled, you're not fully awake, and depending on your caffeine preference, you might not be at your optimal caffeine level yet.
Yeah.
And it just, like for me, when I start the day with work before I do anything else, like I will start dreaming about work, which is just not restful. Like I love my job, but dreaming about spreadsheets is not a fun time for anybody.
No.
So taking that time in the morning to drink some water, make some tea, do something that is restful, that is kind of more of a you thing, I think helps you enter the day with a lot more of a like, all right, I've got this. I have done things to take care of myself. I've eaten a good breakfast. Like I'm ready to get started on my projects instead of sitting at your desk like, what day is it again? I forgot.
Yeah.
She is singing my life right now.
Yeah.
I try to not be that way, but it just is that way sometimes.
It'd be like that sometimes.
Yeah.
I think that's another, I keep building off of what y'all are saying, but I think that's another really important point actually, is to not be hard on yourself when the routine doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like I was saying earlier, you need like a really quick version and the longer version. Because sometimes like it was just, I think it was last week, I slept through like 3 alarms. I still don't know why. Like I went to bed at the normal time. I wasn't feeling, but I just slept right through them. And so my morning routine was a little bit condensed that day. And like that happens. It doesn't matter how organized or on top of things you are. There are going to be things that don't go according to plan. It's not about it always going perfectly according to plan, 100% the same routine, and more about having enough flexibility to be able to roll with it and still kind of have an idea of what's coming next when the routines fall through.
Yeah.
Well, it may not always help, but one thing that I'm looking up hacks and stuff all the time because I cannot understate how much I'm very much not a morning person. If I didn't have to work until like 11 a.m. every day, that would be perfect, but the world just doesn't work that way. But one thing that I've still been using, even though we're well into springtime now and there is sunshine, is I'm still using my my SAD lamp that I had for the winter, because we have blackout curtains in my room and it's kind of hard to let the sunshine in. If you can let the sunshine in, that's even better. But instead of just slamming the snooze button before you lay down, turn on a light or open the curtains or let some kind of light in, because that helps the hormone levels in your body start adjusting to, oh yes, it's light, it's wakey time.
Yeah.
And it's not as rough of a transition.
Light makes such a big difference. I've started, I have Alexa routines for waking up. It's one of my many life hacks. I love being able to set up automated routines. People think I just enjoy that for work. No, that's how I organize my personal life too.
Right.
And so my Alexa morning routine is like, it'll play a song and then it'll give me the forecast and read. And the last step of my Alexa automated morning routine is turning on the lights. And it's such a tiny thing, but it makes such a big difference. And I stub my toes far less frequently in the morning now, which is a nice perk.
Yeah. And you can turn the light on and go ahead and lay down for like a snooze cycle and it's fine. Like I said, the point is to make it not be so jarring and difficult.
Yeah. Take it easy on yourself.
And it's not hard for some people. Some people are like my husband and they're just sunshiny first thing, and I don't know how. I don't understand it, but good for them.
Yeah. I don't know how those people do it.
I am not that way. I've had some people ask if I'm that way, and I have to tell them, no, that's just the cold brew. That's not how I pop out of bed in the morning.
Like I just wake up early, but that doesn't mean I'm happy when I wake up. I'm just waking up.
I will say though, I am more of a morning person than my dogs, because every morning when the light turns on, both Ink and Mocha let out just such a frustrated groan. Like, seriously, the sun is not up yet. What are you doing?
That's hilarious.
I love those dogs.
Mentally from bed, like, we had a good thing going here. Why would you ruin the cuddle
Those
fest?
dogs are amazing.
They just crack me up. And then after like half an hour, they get up and they start running around and playing. But that first half hour, they're just groaning at me like, why? Why do you do this?
That's incredible.
I felt so represented by a dog before.
I know. We're living the same lives.
TMT, we just needed to be drinking the tea a little earlier, I guess.
I know. Well, tea's just not as caffeinated, but I actually find that I like that it's less caffeinated.
That's okay. That means you can drink twice as much.
I know. Well, exactly. Like you don't feel as bad having 2 cups because coffee was just too much caffeine for me.
I've never liked coffee.
I love the taste.
I'm weird. I feel like I'm the only millennial on the planet that doesn't like coffee.
No, you're allowed to not like coffee. I think coffee is also one of those. I've always felt like coffee is one of those things where you don't like it until you're put in a situation one day where you need something and you have a cup of coffee and all of a sudden it makes sense in your brain. Like I remember I woke up really early. It was like 5 a.m. I did not want to be up and I never had like coffee.
I never had that moment. What I had was the moment where that was the only thing available. So I'm like, fine, whatever, I'm going to drink it. I'm never doing that again. Gross.
you must have had pretty like dirt coffee. You need to start kind of easy.
Yeah, there has been one that I have liked, and it was when I was still in college, and there were students from Saudi Arabia that brought coffee over, and that was really, really good.
I was gonna say next time you're up near Chicago, I have a couple places where just because it's such a different experience depending on where you go to get the coffee.
That's very true.
Hazelnut coffee smells really good. It smells like something that I would really enjoy having. And one of my old roommates, my favorite roommate actually, she's one of the bridesmaids in my wedding, has this really great smelling hazelnut coffee. She used to work at a coffee shop, so she gets the good stuff. And like, I tried it and I didn't like that either.
Oh.
It smells like it would taste really good.
It's very sweet. I don't necessarily like hazelnut. It's very sweet.
Yeah. I don't know. I love it all. Coffee, tea, hot chocolate. I am here for all of the cozy warm beverages.
I love hot chocolate.
Well, if you're not one of those people, you're not alone. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, it's okay not to drink coffee. I know there's like a cult of coffee in America, but there's some people that it just doesn't make sense, and that's okay.
I think we actually wrote a blog post about that. It was a long time ago now, but I'm pretty sure there's a post. If it's not on our blog somewhere, it's in our archives, and we should bring it out. But we have a blog post somewhere about that, like just the expectation that everyone like coffee and how not everyone does.
I'm gonna have to find that.
We have it somewhere. That's gonna bug me.
It's always nice to have like a preferred drink, just because like whenever you go out, like because coffee is now a culture in America. So it's a bit tougher if you don't like coffee because someone's like, let's go talk about this over coffee. Like coffee is a really good way to get to know somebody.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
It makes it a bit tougher. So that's why you need to go to a place that's like coffee and tea and hot chocolate. And like smoothies.
Culture in the US. And what if I still hate coffee? It's perfectly acceptable to order something else next time you're invited out for coffee. Most coffee shops have a non-coffee menu where you can order tastier options like iced tea, hot chocolate, or smoothies instead.
I think my favorite tip from this is that at the bottom, it says you should ask them to just go out for ice cream instead.
Yeah. Well, that might honestly be one thing, one note of consideration, for office environments, which from time to time we are going, even though we are a remote company, from time to time we are going to have retreats and stuff. And a lot of times you'll go to a retreat or whatnot, or, support group, whatever the case may be. And sometimes coffee is the only option. And tea, even if it's just a Lipton, tea bags don't cost much. So that would be a nice little consideration that, coffee is great and all, but not everybody drinks it. And sometimes I feel really excluded at events where that's the only thing that there is.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize how cheap it is to get tea. Like you can get like an ounce of tea for like $5, and those leaves are going to last you a really long time. And you can get 1 cup of coffee at Starbucks for $5.
That's true.
But like tea is so cheap. So I don't know why it's like whenever you go to an event, it's like you guys could also just got tea bags and just had hot water.
And I could be wrong, but a lot of times the coffee accessories are not as fun. There is no Titanic for coffee.
You got like milk, creamer.
Yeah, there's so much fun to have with tea, though. One of my favorite things to do, especially like in the spring and summer as weather is getting warmer, is make different like iced teas and tea lemonades and different like fruity infusions and There's some fruit infused honey that I've found around here. So that's
Oh, yum.
so much fun.
Sarah, how do you make iced teas? Because I didn't get into teas until like the fall.
How did he just say, how do you make iced tea?
Well, I don't know how to. Well, I've never actually made my own
Cool.
So
hot tea because I've been drinking tea since the fall, so I haven't needed cold tea.
We shall teach you.
The fridge or something. I don't know what the rules are.
yeah, there's different ways. So you can cold brew tea. I personally don't prefer that method, but that is an option. You can just
Right.
cold brew, and it's really similar to like cold brewed coffee. But something that I'll usually do is I like to make iced tea in bulk. So I'll make like a whole pitcher of tea and infuse it with the tea
Yeah.
leaves, use the same brew time, and then strain out the leaves, and then I'll let it cool on the counter for like an hour or two. And then I'll move it to the fridge once it's cooled off enough that like the glass isn't going to crack from the temperature change.
Mhm.
And then a few hours later, it's usually cooled off enough that I can pour that over some ice or mix it with lemonade. Definitely, if you're going to make iced tea, highly, highly, highly recommend also making some simple syrup, which with the same batch of boiling water, because it's really easy to dissolve sweeteners in hot tea. It's a lot harder in iced tea. So it's easier if you can make some simple syrup with just 1 part granulated sugar, 1 part boiling water. And that way you've got your own little homemade syrup to sweeten it with, where the sugar's already dissolved. So you're not going to end up with all those little sugar grains at the bottom of the glass.
Wow, that's so different from how we do it at my house.
How do you do it?
We like initially like we brew it really strong. Like we use like 3 times as much, tea bags as you would think that you would need. And it's pretty concentrated. It takes up like maybe a third to a half of the pitcher. And then we just let it brew really, really strong. I mean, we will let it sit there and we will let it brew hot. And then we let it brew and then we let it kind of cool and take out the bags. And then we add water and ice to fill the pitcher the rest of the way. And while it was hot, we already added the sweetener because we're a very, I don't know if they pronounce it stevia or stevia. David and I pronounce it different ways, but stevia is what we generally use, either stevia or honey. And we just add that before it ever cools.
There you go.
So your mileage may vary. There are multiple methods.
It's just like with coffee. There are a lot of different ways to make it. There's not
It's
really
pretty hard to mess up.
It really is. I think the only way you can really mess up making iced tea is 1, making it too weak. And then when you add the ice, it's just like kind of vaguely tastes like there might have been tea in the glass before you had a glass of water.
The LaCroix of tea.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, now I'm fired. I just dissed LaCroix.
Yeah, Chris, you're lucky Chris isn't here.
I like LaCroix. It's just not super flavorful, but it's still tasty.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, making it too weak is definitely an issue, or like trying to cool it off too fast. Because it might not be as big of a deal if you're using it in plastic, but most of my pitchers and things like that are glass.
Yeah.
And so if you cool it off too quickly, then the glass will actually fracture, and then you just wasted a perfectly good batch of tea. And it's a very
Yeah.
Definitely do.
You just
Yeah,
killed the
do
pitcher.
let it cool before putting it into a glass implement of any kind.
Yes. What were you saying, Quinn?
Oh, and I said, and you just killed your pitcher. Now it's all cracked.
Yep.
Yeah, I've
exactly.
had friends do that before.
It's just not a fun time. So, but other than those 2 things, it's pretty hard to mess up.
Yeah, because if you make it too strong, you can just always put more water in it.
It's true. You can dilute it.
I think we have learned from this that caffeine is an important part of all of our morning routines. Whether you're a tea drinker or a coffee drinker, let us know below and let us know what some of your favorite recipes are. We're always trying new things. I discovered lavender lattes last summer and it was a
Very good.
wonderful experience. Very excited for those to come back. But I'm always open to trying new things. So coffee, tea, some combination thereof, maybe like a dirty chai, that could work. Go ahead and drop it in the comments below. Let us know what you're drinking. Is there anything else we want to share with our audience today?
Hydrate well. Drink water.
Yes. That's a good morning routine is drinking water.
Drink lots of water, not just caffeine.
Especially if you're a coffee drinker, because it tends to deplete your water. So,
Yes.
but either way, drink water.
Yes.
Hydration for the win. All right. Awesome. Have a great day, everybody. And we will see you back here again next week.
See ya.